everyone. We're back with our Talking with Teachers podcast. I'm Julie Cuomo, for those of you who may be new to the podcast. I'm an 8th grade ELA teacher at Isaac Young Middle School, and I'm so excited to welcome some of my fellow teachers who I meet with every week at our ELA book club. Why don't we quickly introduce ourselves and the schools where we are currently teaching?
Hello, my name is Lindsay Lee, and I am currently working in a 7th grade cooperative learning ELA class at Port Chester Middle School. Go Rams!
Hi everyone, I'm Alexis Murillo, and I'm also at Port Chester teaching 7th grade ELA.
Hello, my name is Joseph Ferry, and I am also working at Port Chester Middle School in an ELA class.
Hi, my name is Megan Salmon, and like my fellow teachers, I teach 7th grade ELA at Isaac Young Middle School in New Rochelle.
Great, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here today to help me share the fantastic book that we've been reading for the past few weeks. Lindsay?
Yeah, of course, Julie. Recently, we've had the pleasure of reading Jeffrey Wilhelm's You Gotta Be the Book, and it provides an insightful look into helping students really construct meaning from literature. From what I've read, Wilhelm is an outstanding educator. He's originally from northeastern Ohio and spent about 15 years in the classroom teaching. Currently, he's a professor at Boise State University in the English department, and he's co-authored multiple books and articles about teaching and learning literacy.
Yeah, so clearly Wilhelm is a seasoned educator. Those 15 years in the classroom gave him a great deal of insight on what worked for his students and what didn't. And he shares these experiences with us, which I find to be very valuable. Would you all agree with that?
Oh yeah, I especially like the way he incorporates research to back his own observations. It helps bridge theory with real-life applications.
I think all of us ELA teachers can relate to Wilhelm's experiences in some way or another.
You're right, Meg. I especially like the anecdotes that he incorporates in his chapters. I find it really brings the text to life. So let's talk about this title. You gotta be the book. What does this mean?
I feel that taking this title literally would be a great way to represent the book. According to Wilhelm, to read a book is to really see the book in its entirety. And those students who hate reading typically feel this way because they can't see what they're reading.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lindsay. There are a lot of students who hate reading, and the title itself is a strategy to help these students. They need to see what they're reading. They gotta be the book.
Yeah, you're right, Alexis. Throughout the book, he provides a rich list of instructional strategies to help students really visualize the words on a page as if they were a scene in their life or in a movie. He really wants to help students enjoy reading.
I think students sometimes view reading as more of a burden than an experience.
I know I have some of those students in my classroom.
Yeah, students don't want to spend time reading because they find it hard to find a purpose in it.
Yeah, Meg, and branching off of that, he does a really nice job breaking down why so many students struggle with reading and what we as teachers can do to help students construct meaning from text. You could say Wilhelm is a bit of a constructivist, right? Because in his text, he discusses how teachers need to help students form connections between their reading experiences and personal experiences. As Alexis mentioned, this is how students will come to see what they're reading. Most notably, he discusses how using drama and drawing had a transformative effect on his most reluctant readers.
Right. I think incorporating drama into the classroom is interesting and not something you see often.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alexis. Before reading this text, I never really thought much about using drama as a tool to help students engage with text in a way that's fun. I find, and maybe some of you can agree, that we tend to stick to the same motions year in and year out. Just today, I was in the copy room printing an activity that I've done with my students for the past 5 years. I think I've gotten very comfortable recycling my notes and worksheets because it's convenient. But I think that it's time to open my eyes to what's really working for my students and what's not, just as Wilhelm did. I have so many students that fall into that category of students who hate to read. I do think that is a result of them feeling disconnected from what they read. Like Lindsay said, they can't see what they're reading. They're too focused on the literal meaning of text.
Or not focused at all.
Yeah, that could be the case too. I think I want to talk a bit about Chapter 4 because he really goes into depth here about how he uses techniques of story theater to help students experience and explore the world of text. Would anyone like to pick up on this?
Yeah, sure. I actually highlighted some lines that I thought were really interesting. Hold on, let me just find them. Oh, the benefits of literature can emerge only from creative activity on the part of the reader. I really liked this line because it points out how involved the reading process is, Like how it's up to the reader to discover the meaning of the text.
You know, Lindsay, I totally agree. I taught a lesson on theme a few weeks ago, and I explained to my students that the author doesn't tell you his or her message. That's up to the readers to discover through characters and conflicts.
Wilhelm found during his 12 weeks of using drama in the classroom that theater activities helped him turn reading into an active process. Now, I would really love to talk about some of these activities.
One of his activities that I like is correspondence. This is an activity where students write and respond to diaries, postcards, or letters in the role of a story character. Has anyone used this activity in the classroom?
I actually have used this. I had the students write a letter to one of the characters in the short story describing an alternative way to resolve the conflict of the story. It gives them the point of view of the character's motivations and what they want to get out of this conflict.
That's great.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I might use it myself one day. There's also that To Tell the Truth game, which is another cool activity. It's based on an old TV game show. For this game, 3 to 5 students at a time play the part of a character, and the rest of the class interrogates the students playing the parts of the characters by asking questions about their lives, experiences, values, and so on. After the interrogation round, a group of judges evaluates who had the most truthful and accurate response.
Aw, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it does sound fun, but I think it really depends on the atmosphere of your class. I mean, I have some periods that I could see really rocking this activity, but I can also see other classes just kind of horsing around with it.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from. Anyone else?
I also think that activity snapshots would be effective in my classroom, especially since the students are asked to take a closer look at each of the characters in their readings. For those that don't know, snapshots are when a student is asked to depict particular scenes as moments in time that showed physical or emotional relationships and displayed character gestures, expressions, and activities. The students are asked to look closely at each of the characters, so this helps them better develop understanding of these characters. After creating a few snapshots, the students can use them to create a tableau drama. These individual snapshots will be used to create a story sequence visually using several pictures and captions.
Yeah, Joe, I actually used the snapshots for a take-home test last week to help my students really visualize the conflict of this pivotal scene in our novel.
Did you really? How did it work out for you?
It worked out great. I mean, there's always a risk with sending home a test grade assignment because, students don't bring it back.
You can say that again.
Yeah, but this time I had students tossing their art in the air to show me. The pictures themselves were like really reflective of the intensity of the scene and they loved it.
Yeah, so Wilhelm also introduced and encouraged the use of graphic novels in his classroom, and I agree with that encouragement because, as he had reflected, schools tend to give a limited view of literature, which causes the students to distance themselves from the literary experience. In my classrooms, there are a lot of struggling readers and those not interested in reading, but when we encouraged them to take out graphic novels, we noticed that many of the students were actually enjoying reading.
Yeah, I've noticed graphic novels have been especially popular in my ELL class. The students' knowledge in English varies drastically, with some being able to speak it fluently and others who only understand a word or two. I noticed especially in this class that having visual aids in telling a story and aids the student in understanding what is going on in the story. It also makes the graphic novel itself more approachable to the students.
Joe, I share a similar experience with the L students in my classroom. They tend to gravitate towards graphic novels to get a visual for the story. Some teachers don't encourage students to read graphic novels because some don't consider them real books. But honestly, as long as they're reading, I'm happy.
Preach. It's funny, the students in my classroom are also really into graphic novels for their independent reading logs. I'm actually a fan of many titles myself that they're reading, and I've been able to incorporate them into lessons for plot and characterization.
Yeah, exactly. That's really awesome to hear, guys. Yeah, graphic novels are great, especially since you can get them for any genre. Wilhelm also talks about drawing, and I think drawing in the classroom is great. And at least in my classroom, I would give students, a choice if it's something that they would want to do. For my classroom, I think I would use visual protocol, which is when students are asked to read a story and to stop whenever they form a strong visual impression and draw a picture of that impression, as well as picture mapping, which is similar to sketch notes.
I do like that approach in helping visual readers, but I'm not sure students should stop every time they have a strong impression. Sometimes to fully understand something, a student will have to reread that particular section. Also, it might prevent them from being able to finish the story in the allotted time.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the visual protocol, Joe, but I love sketch notes. Every time we read in class, I used to see students drawing flowers or patterns in their notebooks. But then I showed them my own reading journal from my college days. They loved the little doodles I did on the side, and they started creating their own for our book. I mean, even today, I had one of the boys wave me over just so that he could show me the picture he did of the uncle in our book, and I just loved it.
That's fantastic, Lindsay. So wow, we've really hyped this book up quite a bit, and I think we all can agree that it is a great read for educators. I do just want to say, though, that I think it would have been nice to see how these strategies worked in other classrooms. Perhaps if Wilhelm collaborated with a colleague or two, we would have gotten a fuller picture on how effective these strategies truly are for students, especially struggling readers like the ones that we've mentioned in our classrooms. Overall, though, we really enjoyed this text, and I hope that all of you listening tonight were able to take away something valuable, whether you're a teacher, student, or parent. I would like to close out the night by saying thank you, and I hope you join us again next week for our lovely talk on the EdTPA. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.